The sun rose slowly over the African savanna, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of dew and wild grass. Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor and filmmaker, stood on the edge of a vast plain, his weathered face framed by the brim of his hat. He had come to Africa to film a documentary about wildlife conservation. But today, he was taking a rare moment to himself, soaking in the raw beauty of the untamed land. Clint adjusted his sunglasses and took a sip of coffee from a thermos. The crew was still asleep back at camp, but he had always been an early riser. He loved the quiet moments before the world woke up, when the wilderness felt like it belonged to him alone. But the peace didn't last long. A low guttural growl echoed through the air, sending a shiver down Clint's spine. He froze, his sharp instincts kicking in. The sound was close, too close. He turned slowly, scanning the horizon. And that's when he saw it. A massive lion, its golden fur glistening in the morning light, was trapped in a tangle of barbed wire. The wire had wrapped around its body, cutting into its flesh. The lion thrashed violently, its roars of pain and frustration echoing across the plains. Blood dripped from its wounds, staining the ground beneath it. Clint's heart sank. He had seen a lot in his life, but this was something else. The lion's eyes met his, and for a moment, Clint felt a connection. This wasn't just an animal. It was a king of the savanna, brought low by human cruelty. Clint knew he had to act fast. The lion was in agony, and every second counted. But approaching a wounded lion was no small feat. One wrong move, and he could end up as its next meal. He grabbed a pair of wire cutters from his jeep and approached cautiously, his boots crunching softly on the dry grass. The lion growled again, baring its teeth. But Clint didn't back down. He had faced danger before, and he wasn't about to let fear stop him now. "Easy, big guy," Clint said, his voice calm but firm. "I'm here to help." The lion's eyes narrowed, its body tense. It was clear it didn't trust him, but it was too weak to fight back. Clint moved closer, his hands steady, as he began cutting away the barbed wire. The lion flinched with each snip, but it didn't attack. It was as if it understood that Clint was trying to save it. Minutes felt like hours as Clint worked, his heart pounding in his chest. Finally, the last piece of wire fell away, and the lion was free. It let out a deep rumbling roar, shaking the ground beneath Clint's feet. For a moment, Clint thought the lion might attack, but instead, it simply stared at him, its golden eyes filled with something that looked like gratitude. Then, without warning, it turned and limped away, disappearing into the tall grass. Clint exhaled sharply, wiping the sweat from his brow. He had done it. He had saved the lion. Back at camp, Clint told the crew what had happened. They were stunned, but Clint brushed it off. "Just another day in the wild," he said with a shrug. But something strange started happening after that. Every morning, when Clint went out to film, he would see the lion watching him from a distance. It never came too close, but it was always there, its golden eyes following his every move. At first, Clint was wary. He knew lions were unpredictable, and he didn't want to push his luck, but over time, he began to feel a strange connection to the animal. It was as if the lion recognized him, not as a threat, but as an ally. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Clint decided to test the waters. He grabbed a piece of raw meat from the camp supplies and walked out into the open, holding it in his hand. The lion watched him from the shadows, its eyes gleaming in the fading light. "Come on, big guy," Clint said, tossing the meat onto the ground. "You know, I'm not going to hurt you." The lion hesitated, its ears twitching. Then slowly, it stepped out of the shadows and approached the meat. It sniffed cautiously before taking a bite, its eyes never leaving Clint. From that day on, the lion became a regular presence in Clint's life. It would follow him during his morning walks, always keeping a respectful distance but never straying too far. The crew started calling it Clint's shadow, and even Clint had to admit it felt like he had made a friend. One afternoon, as Clint and the crew were filming near a watering hole, disaster struck. A group of poachers, armed with rifles and machetes, emerged from the trees. They had been tracking the lion for weeks, and they weren't about to let it slip away. Clint's heart raced as he realized what was happening. He had heard stories about these poachers, ruthless men who would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. He knew he had to act fast. "Get back to the jeep," he shouted to the crew, his voice cutting through the chaos. But before anyone could move, the poachers opened fire. The lion, sensing danger, let out a deafening roar and charged at the poachers. Its massive body moved with startling speed, its claws slashing through the air. The poachers scattered, their guns falling from their hands as they fled into the trees. Clint watched in awe as the lion stood its ground, its chest heaving with exertion. It turned to him, its golden eyes filled with something that looked like determination. "You saved me," Clint said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Now it's my turn to save you." Clint and the lion worked together to track down the poachers, their bond stronger than ever. They moved through the wilderness like a well-oiled machine, each one complementing the other's strengths. Finally, they cornered the poachers in a remote cave. The men were armed and dangerous, but Clint and the lion were unstoppable. With a combination of brute force and cunning strategy, they took down the poachers one by one, ensuring they would never harm another animal again. As the dust settled, Clint turned to the lion, his heart filled with gratitude. "You're not just a lion," he said, scratching the animal behind the ears. "You're a hero." The lion let out a soft growl, its tail swishing lazily. It was clear it felt the same way about Clint. The story of Clint Eastwood and the lion spread like wildfire, capturing the hearts of millions. People were amazed at how a Hollywood legend had formed such an unlikely bond with a wild animal, and the lion's bravery became the stuff of legend. Clint and the lion continued to work together, their partnership a testament to the power of compassion and courage. They became symbols of hope and resilience, inspiring others to stand up against cruelty and protect the innocent. And as the sun rose over the savanna, the next morning, Clint and the lion set off on their next adventure, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, because together they were unstoppable.